All right, so let's go ahead and start Parks Foundation and Quality of Life Policy Committee meeting for March 27th, 2025. Uh, Approval of minutes. Any questions, concerns, committee members? Coombs, Councilmember Murillo?
Nope.
Councilmember Murillo?
She said no edits.
Okay. All right, then the minutes will be approved. Nothing from me. Any announcements?
No, I don't think so.
See none,
Not
then we'll
from
move to
us.
our first agenda item, which is 4A 2024 Recreation Customer Service Survey Results. And who's the presenter on that?
So good morning, Winter Steger, Manager of Recreation. Ultimately, Griselda Romero will be presenting the information, and I will be here for any support on questions that may arise.
All right.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Griselda Romero. I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator, and I'm just going to go over these Recreation Customer Satisfaction Survey results. And I think, yep, presentation is up. Lauren, could you go to the next slide, please? Okay, the survey was held at the end of 2024 through the month of December. We provided both online and hard copy surveys at Beck, Central, Moorhead, and Southeast Recreation Centers. And we were looking to collect feedback on the facilities, current offerings, and to gauge future wants and needs. We received a total of 699 responses compared to 2023's 723 responses. A significant change that we had from 2023 was that we included the survey at Beck Recreation Center. And overall, the results remain positive across the board. There was a shift of 2 to 3% from excellent, and very good to good or fair ratings. Based on the comments we received, we would attribute that change to the polls being closed at the end of 2024. And I'll go over the comments towards the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. The survey first touched on the motivation of selecting a recreation center over other similar facilities in the area. And what we saw was that customers are selecting rec centers due to the proximity of their homes, price, and amenities. The next question asked customers to explain why they prefer their chosen rec center, with the top 3 reasons being the fitness areas, pool, and gyms. Next slide, please. 96% of respondents agreed that the rec centers offer a good value for the price, and 83% are very likely to recommend their preferred rec center to others. Next slide, please. Respondents generally are satisfied with facility hours, but comments we received did request the longer weekend hours, including both earlier and later hours. Next slide. Customers were asked to rate their preferred recreation center on 6 categories, including customer service, staff, programming, facility cleanliness, facility safety, and overall experience. On this slide, you'll see we have customer service received an overall score of 85% excellent, staff 88% excellent, and programming 69% excellent. Next slide. Facility cleanliness received 79% excellent, and facility safety 83% excellent. Next slide. The overall experience at all rec centers received 80% excellent and 13% very good, so pretty good score there. Next slide. And then those 6 categories were broken down by recreation center. So starting with Beck Rec Center, customer service satisfaction came in at 74% excellent, 81% excellent for staff, 59% excellent for facility cleanliness, 64% excellent for facility safety, 35% excellent for programs offered, and 59% excellent for overall experience. Next slide. Central Recreation Center received 62% excellent in customer service, 65% excellent in staff, 43% excellent in facility cleanliness, 58% excellent in facility safety, and 40% excellent in programs offered, and 49% excellent in overall experience. Next slide. Moorhead received 90% excellent or over in all categories, except except for programs offered, which came in at 84% excellent. Next slide. Southeast received 80% excellent or higher in all categories except programs offered, which received 72% excellent. Next slide. Okay, so the comments we received ranged from kudos to opportunities for improvement. Customers are happy with the differences in rec centers and also paid compliments to staff. Areas for improvement include comments requesting longer weekend hours, one flat price across all rec centers, a quicker turnaround on fixing equipment, and comments about the pool closures. Next slide, please. And that's the general overview of the survey results. Are there any questions?
Councilmember Murillo?
No questions.
Councilmember Coombs?
I do not have any either.
I will have a few. Since this is one of my areas. Yeah, I looked at across the board for the most part. It seems programming. So were there any like questions about what types of programming people were looking at to have more or less?
I can speak to that a little bit, and Griselda, as she compiled the data, might have other information. It was kind of general across the board, Ruben. There were, I think, quite a bit of fitness comments, and then some of the comments also asked for things that we did provide. So in some cases, it was a little confusing, but it might have been more about a specific location not having the exact offering that another location had. But it was just kind of generalized, and there wasn't, when you looked at the data, there wasn't a lot of comments. It just was what we could find as a common theme here and there.
Yeah, and the other piece is just, yeah, the comparison of centers, right? Looks like Southeast and Moorhead did fairly well across the board. I think at least upper 80s, 90s, and the others were a little bit lower in most categories. So just wondering, like, are we looking at those kind of things? Like it's staffing, even though I know that, the customer service was good at all locations, but those two seem to be stand out for me. So I was just curious if we're looking into what differences there are between those centers and what's making them more, I guess, palatable for people and enjoyable.
Yeah, I think we do look at that and then take best practices. Moorhead's a good example. The staff there has always done an excellent job, and I think is a good model as a leadership aspect as far as customer service and how they present and how they interact with the community. So we do talk about that. We do talk about that amongst the team, and we try to take those best practices forward to all the facilities.
Okay, thank you. Now continue the good work, and I'll continue to help support where I can. And I want to get out to Beck too and just look at that. I haven't been out there in a while, so I want to check and see what's up. So thanks. Next up, we have 4B, resolution to approve the Central Community Park Master Plan.
Good
Nicole, I
morning,
think
everyone.
oh, there you go.
And Lauren, if it's okay with you, it would be great if Trent Woolley could use his screen. That enables him to control the mouse and be able to use it as a pointer. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Nicole Ankeny, Manager of Planning, Design, and Construction. And Trent Woolley is one of our senior landscape architects, and he's working on the project and will be giving both presentations today for Central Recreation Center's park, which is Central Community Park, surrounding the rec center, as well as Red-Tailed Hawk Community Park. So Trent, whenever you are ready.
And Nicole, I'm not, oh, good. I wasn't sure if Trent could present.
Right. Good morning. And as already is noted, we are seeking the approval of the master plan for Central Community Park. And just to quickly let everybody know, we've been working with a great design firm called the Architect Group out of Littleton.
Trent, is there a way that you can make that full screen so we don't see the notes and things?
Sure. I'm sorry about that. Let's see here.
And it might be one of the buttons at the bottom.
Sorry about this. Let's see.
There should be one that has like swap screens. You're probably using, yeah, that's
All right. Is
perfect.
that better? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So just a quick overview of the approval process. We are basing our request for an approval of the master plan on the PRO's dedication and development criteria manual. There's certain items that we have to check off, so to speak, when we do look at a potential park and when we're preparing the master plan. As you can see on this slide, we've looked at things such as site design. Is it appropriate? What are the uses compatible with? Are they adequately buffered from especially our neighbors? We also look at any kind of design, I'm sorry, access into the site. Is it adequate? Do we need additional access into the site? We look at parking for both vehicles and bicycles. We look at pedestrian access. We also look at the life safety issue. And then we also have to look at any architectural theming, which at Central Community Park, we will have some theming just because of the existing rec center on site right there. Height, we don't have anything over 50 feet. We have nothing over 90 feet, so we're okay there. And then, of course, we just want to make sure that we detail out the plan to a sufficient standard so everyone can understand what's going on and what we're proposing. So Central Community Park, I think most everyone knows where it's located. Again, it's adjacent to the Central Rec Center, located at Telluride and South Tower Road. This is a little bit to the rec center, parking to the northwest and to the east. The park is going to mainly be located in this area, again, adjacent to Central Community Park. Let me just point out one more thing while we're here. This pond right here, this is owned and operated by Aurora Water, and it serves the only function of providing irrigation to the Hutchison Channel, which runs kind of northwest along here, and then of course to the south down towards Hamden. They have made the decision, Aurora Water that is, they've made the decision for this pond to go away. A lot of the issues revolve around maintenance of the pond, maintenance of the pump house to provide water for the irrigation system, and then the maintenance of the actual irrigation system itself. And so they've chosen for this pond to be removed as part of this park project. So we did perform public outreach. We had 3 public meetings, and we also had an Engage Aurora page, which you can see at the top there. That's where it's located. For this particular project, we had a mailing list of just over 7,000 addresses, which is about a 1-mile radius from the rec center. And then we also reached out to 42 neighborhood groups / HOAs. Our first public meeting was held on April 21st, 2022. We had 30 in-person attendees, and each of our public meetings were followed up by a post-meeting survey. And that survey was conducted through Engage Aurora. Griselda was great because she helped us put it on social media, make sure people knew that those surveys were out there. On our first survey on this particular park project, we received 78 responses. Our second public meeting was held on May 7th of 2024. We had 54 attendees in person, and then we had the post-meeting survey, and we had 55 responses to that survey. And then our final public meeting was held on November 7th, 2024. We had 24 in-person attendees, and we had 39 responses on the post-meeting survey. So just a quick recap of some of the items that we discovered during our first meeting. Typically, our first meeting is to introduce the project to the public. And so a lot of time is spent about talking about the site, the opportunities on site, any constraints on site, looking at things that we could potentially do on site. And then we start that conversation with the public on what would you like to see in your park. One of the things on this particular project that we started with from the get-go was that we were going to provide shelters, we were going to provide a plumbed restroom, and we wanted to make sure that we had a playground at this particular park. So that was kind of the base level that we started at. And then again, we were asking the public what they would like to see. During this meeting, some ideas were thrown out there. We talked about some things. And during the meeting, a lot of people had positive responses to a potential skate park, some courts, sport courts, whether it's basketball, tennis, and of course, pickleballs is listed there, as well as they wanted to see picnic areas. And then during the survey, we found that a lot of the public wanted to see a dog park there, picnic areas as well, some sort of outdoor fitness area, and then a bouldering area, which is just, man-made rocks that people can climb on and enjoy the, kind of that experience. Some of the things that the public said they didn't really want to see in this park also was a skate park. They didn't want to see any baseball or softball fields, a dog park, or basketball courts. And just so everybody is on the same page here, at our public meetings, there was a lot of discussion about the pond, why it was going away, some questions along that. And there were a lot of questions at this particular meeting on why was this decision made on removing the pond. And so we did have Aurora Water representatives at each of our meetings, and they were able to handle those questions and discuss that with the public as well. Public meeting number 2. Again, we had 54 attendees in person. Usually on the second public meeting, we're presenting anywhere from 2 to 3 concepts. So the consultants will put together different concepts to show them what we potentially could have as what that park might look like. And at this particular meeting, we provided 2 concepts, and we asked people, especially during the post-meeting survey, which concept did you prefer? And out of the 2 concepts, during the 75 responses, most everyone preferred concept B. And then 59 of those 75 people said that they would go with either A or B. It didn't matter. And we only had 15 who said they didn't prefer either. Some of the preferred items after this public meeting number 2 were the bouldering area, sports courts, a playground, and then a bluegrass play area. And some of the items not preferred, sports courts, bouldering area, and bluegrass play area. So again, you'll always get people who are kind of on both sides of the fence of, yes, we want this, and people say, no, we don't want that. And then our final meeting, typically at the final meeting, we take the concepts, the information that we gathered from public meeting number 2, and we distill that down into one concept to present back to the public. And again, the idea of this public meeting is to present that final concept, but also to gain feedback and have conversations with the public to make sure that what we're proposing is actually going to meet what people really want to see. So we had 24 in-person attendees, and then we had 39 responses after the meeting in the surveys. The top 3 items when we asked them, what preferred amenities do you like? And it was the trails, the playground area, and then some of the natural areas that we were proposing. So 56% of the respondents said that the master plan that we proposed at that meeting met the recreational needs of the neighborhood. So the actual concept that was presented is this concept here. As you can see, the Central Rec Center here is in the middle. And then we have a court area to the east. And then we have the playground and bouldering area here to the west, a bluegrass play area. And then this is where the pond sits currently. And the pond, again, is going to be removed. And what we're looking at in this area is more of a wetland type area. We still have water flowing through this area, of course, And so that was the idea behind this, is to try and create something that was similar to the pond, but didn't have the maintenance needs and the issues that the pond brings. This is a little bit of a closer view of that wetland area on the west side. We would have a pedestrian bridge here where number 1 is, and then also another pedestrian bridge here. Pedestrian bridges are utilized, especially during times of the year when we have any storm events. You can still cross safely over this area, even if there is some sort of a storm event and there's more water in this area. We do have a low water crossing proposed down here. And again, that may be at times of the year wet just because of more water flowing through here during a storm event. We're providing some little areas that we're referring to as micro pools. So there will be some water, just not as much as the pond currently has. And that will fluctuate during times of the year as well. All the plantings in here will be native. They will be picked to make sure that they can withstand basically just good, great wetland plants that are native to this area, and they can withstand times of a lot of water and times of not as much water. We're also proposing a overlook shelter here that would look over this area, and then some trails that actually get you pretty close down into the area where the wetlands are for that experience. We also are looking at, we are working with Art Public Places to provide a sculpture somewhere on site. One area that is proposed is right here where number 3 is showing us. And so that's just one location. There's other locations on site that we could potentially have artwork in as well. And then moving to the east, again, the wetland area is just over here off the page now. This is the bluegrass area that was really desired. This particular bluegrass area is not a formal play area or a formal area to program sports, I should say. It's an informal play area, throw the frisbee, go out there, kick the soccer ball around, have fun. So it's not a programmed space. Up here to the north, we have a series of small shelters. And then we have a large group pavilion shelter right here. And again, great views out towards the west and the mountains, and you can see the wetland area. We're looking at and proposing a 2-tiered playground area. So this playground area is higher than this lower playground area, and it's separated by a small climbing wall. So again, it would be, kids can climb up and down the wall to get to the other areas. And then number 8 here is the proposed bouldering area for everyone to go in and play and have fun with. The plumbed restroom is located here. Again, we're making connections to the rec center itself. And then over to the east, we have our court area. So we're proposing 2 basketball courts, 2 tennis courts, and 4 pickleball courts. And then we have 3 shelters proposed in this area to provide shade, places to rest and sit while you're waiting for your game to come up. There's some renderings that our consultants put together. And again, this is the wetland area here. You can see the rec center in the middle. And then this is the playground area and the bouldering area, the open bluegrass area, and then all the sport courts. A little bit closer look at the sports courts. Again, basketball, pickleball, and tennis. And just as we're looking at this image, we did look at potentially adding, if we needed to at any point in the future, add parking. We are able to add about 50 more additional spaces of parking if needed at this particular parking lot. So this is looking more west. You can see the wetland area or proposed wetland area out here. This is where the pond is currently. We would basically are standing on the roof of the rec center looking out towards the rest. So you can see the playground area, the bouldering area, the large group pavilion, a couple of the smaller shade structures here on the right, and then the large bluegrass area, and of course the wetland area. And this is looking back towards the rec center. Again, the large group pavilion area with picnic tables, grills, a couple of the smaller shade structures, the playground area. And here's the wetland area. We have No Name Creek that comes in this way, and then Tollgate Creek comes in from the south, and they join here at the confluence. So again, a shelter overlooking the wetland area, 2 pedestrian bridges, a low water crossing, and some paths. This is just a rendition of what that shelter overlook at the wetland area may look like. Some stone seating, and then up here's where the shelter would be. And a good look at what the pedestrian bridge may look like. So our process, we met with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board on March the 5th. They held a public hearing and they issued an advisory opinion of approval of the master plan for Central Community Park. And then on the 12th, we met with Planning Zoning Commission, and they at their study session, and we presented, and they provided us an approval from the standpoint that the commissioners were very happy with what we had proposed. And then, of course, today we're meeting with all of you and presenting, and then the dates will change. We just want you to note that these dates are shifting. We did some further review of our approval requirements, and this project differs slightly in process from Red Tail, which we were trying to run together to get them both approved at the same time. What's going to happen is we are going to have to hold an additional public hearing for Central, and we don't have all the dates worked out yet, but we'll get those finalized in the next couple of weeks, and then we will go and continue to seek council study session and then their final approval. And then we're opening it up for questions at this point.
Thank you much. Murillo. Any questions?
Yeah, maybe I missed this, but I saw in one
And
of
I'm
the
sorry, I can't
earlier.
hear. If anyone's asking a question, I can't hear.
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yes, I
Yes,
can
we
hear you.
can.
Yeah, I don't know what to do if he's not able to hear
We
me.
can hear you, Crystal.
Okay. Can somebody communicate that maybe it's on his end that he can't hear?
Yes, I'm messaging him now.
Okay.
And
And I can field answers as well if need be.
Okay. Okay. All I was gonna say is maybe I misunderstood or missed the explanation, but on one of the first slides it said the community preference survey that the dog park was part of the preference and the not preference category. I was a little confused by that.
Yes, a lot of times what transpires is that we have one set of residents that's very excited about amenity and another set that is very much opposed. And I would say in general, we see this across the board. Central was one with dog parks, pickleball, and skate parks. You get very much polarization in strong support and strong opposition. So we reviewed, for example, the dog park specifically. We put in many different concepts and options and reviewed, and essentially we couldn't come into we couldn't meet our own criteria that was placed in the dog park study. When you have drainage areas to the extent that Central does, it can be quite difficult because we just don't have the land area. For example, Central, we have only 12 to 15 acres of developable park space. Typically, when we do acquisitions for community parks, traditionally we're looking for around 40 acres. So at 15 acres of developable park space, it's significantly smaller than is ideal. So in this case, within all the drainage obligations with regards to the Hutchison Channel and Unnamed Creek, we did have some challenges fitting that in. But please know, we tried multiple iterations, and unfortunately, we just could not make that work.
Gotcha. That makes sense in terms of the polarization. I get that. Is there, I don't remember what's in the dog park study, but is there like some sort of middle ground? You know, like maybe it's not like a full dog park, but maybe there's the little like dog parks like like the poop bag little like stations or a water station, or like if there's a trail, that there's like a path. Like I'm thinking of like Utah Park, right? Like there's like the paved trail and then the trail, like the gravel next to it, so that there's just like a little bit more room. It just is a little bit more accommodating without having if a dog park's not like explicitly possible. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, and Brian, it looked like you wanted to speak. Did you want to talk to the dog stations?
Oh, no, I was thinking that those specific amenities haven't been identified for this concept yet, but I think that's great feedback if we can make our parks more dog walker friendly or dog walker. That would be a good suggestion for us on the individual amenities that we seek for this in design phase.
Yeah, and in addition to that, I think a lot of this trail network is going to greatly improve the connectivity, not only to the rec center, but throughout the existing trail network. So from a dog walking standpoint, I love dogs. I actually have 2 huskies, so I'm always looking at dog walking opportunities because they are very high energy. So I think with the trail network, and if we can implement some of those small features, whether that be additional benches and trash cans and the poo bag stations, I think those will be great amenities in the park.
Gotcha. Yeah, just like a middle ground, because I hear you. Like some people think they're great and they have the kind of dog that is not reactive, and then you have owners that have reactive dogs, and a dog park is a terrible idea. But like having the option and just the accommodating kind of the lifestyle, like I think that's the value of the park. But am I understanding that that comes at those specific pieces come at a later phase because it's not so much like it's just the design aspect as opposed to like the like deep structural pieces of the park?
Yes, we'll incorporate those type of items in at the construction documentation level. And Trent and I are taking notes to make sure that we include many of those as we develop the construction documents.
Great. I guess the only other thing is just on that note, the like if there's any like I don't know if there's a plan for like water fountains or anything, but and if it's obviously not too expensive, like sometimes they have the one with the little dog thing at the bottom. Again, if we can't afford or it doesn't make sense for a whole like dedicated space, like just those like simple amenities I think could really like improve the like dog friendliness of any park, frankly. Thanks, y'all. That was it for my questions.
I appreciate that comment, and I think that's something, especially because we're going to have the plumbed restroom, that we could absolutely accommodate. Sometimes we run into challenges just with, what utilities are available, the cost to pull them into the site and so forth.
Yeah.
But because this site is already planned to have a plumbed restroom, I think that would be an excellent add.
Wonderful. Thank you all.
Thank you. Councilmember Coombs?
Yes, I definitely have a few questions. I was at some of the community meetings, and when I was the Ward 5 council member, received a lot of feedback about the park and the process. I think you all did a really great job accommodating the like wetlands and bird watching. So I appreciate you managing that. I know there were some concerns about both the plumbed restroom and noise from the ball courts, and it looks like there's, from the renderings, a pretty good buffer between both of those amenities and the homes of the residents that were concerned about these things. But can you speak a little bit more to what that like tree and grass buffer space is for the homes that are closest into the park and the ball courts?
Yes, I can speak to that. Trent, if you could hear me, can you go back to the plan? Because I think it might be easier to have the visual. Okay, thank you. Yes, we've got, you can see number 3 there. There's in red and number 1. We've added a lot of topography to try to undulate the ground in a way that helps add some additional buffering. So not only do we have the horizontal space, and we're really focused on trying to keep the court sports as far away from residential as possible, but we did look at incorporating topography to increase the impact of that buffer. So I think from a community park standpoint, we have one of the best buffers that we can get in this scenario. With our dedication and development criteria manual, I believe the bare minimum is 50 feet, and we are well beyond that. So we always take those things into consideration. It's very challenging to do because, as you can imagine, there are some residential folks that don't want to see any court sports anywhere in the park. However, we're trying to balance the needs of all involved. So we did incorporate native trees and a lot of that topography in addition to natural areas to assist with the buffer.
So I would add to that too, that in this plan, the court sports are placed, absolutely far away from homes as possible, right up against that storage area. So it's not even a business really. I mean, it's a place, well, it is absolutely it's a business, but not like where people are going in and out to do other than store their belongings. And the consultant and Nicole's team has placed, pickleball at that point where it's as far from, as we can get it from residential homes, with tennis being closer, which is less, has a less noise factor, and basketball being right over by the parking lot and the rec center where we already have a huge amount of activity going on with people in and out of the rec center. So I think the specific placement of the specific courts is intentional here as well.
Awesome, thank you. And then the other piece that we had some conversation about early on was about the other side of the Hutchinson Channel, kind of from where the park is. I know that there are some bridges now connecting. I'm wondering if there was any further discussion about the potential for paths or other options along where there's kind of a social trail currently existing on that other side of the Hutchinson Channel.
Trent, can you go back a slide or two that shows more of the Hutchinson Channel? Okay, thank you. That is great. Oh, right there. Thank you. So for the sake of the master plan, the area is really focused around the park. You're absolutely correct. There was a lot of discussion in that area. So what we were trying to do with the park master plan was ensure that we had really strong connectivity to the existing sidewalk network, but also consider Vassar Elementary in those connections. So additional conversations have happened with Aurora Water and looking at the extents beyond the park master plan. And Brian, I think you've probably had more of the conversations when it comes to that. But if there's anything specific, I can certainly answer that.
Yeah, yes, Councilmember Coombs, I think, are you referring to if we were to go further downstream, like up and around the corner here?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that is, Aurora Water property. We do the maintenance along there. We have an existing concrete trail that parallels it on what would be in this diagram, the north side of the existing creek channel. One of the things that we talked about with residents is finding a way to connect over to it from those cul-de-sac that you kind of see on the curve as it goes that way. And there are some social trails coming from those intersections, and we have to really look at where's the best place to actually formalize one, maybe with a crusher fine trail addition. That's what we had talked to Aurora Water about. Can we look at, as we go around that curve, connecting those neighbors over to the sidewalk or the concrete path a little better? We will continue those conversations with Aurora Water.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Yeah, my only question is on the bluegrass. You said that area there is going to be bluegrass. How large is that area and water usage? I guess since we're kind of trying to conserve that.
Yeah, Trent, I don't know if you have a quantity takeoff on either acreage or square footage that you could message me. But Councilmember Medina, it is within our approved water conservation ordinance, because that's one of the things we're always looking at, right? Is that balance of providing a designed space that's very playable for the community, but hitting that balance with watching our water use. So we'll also be analyzing which sod product we're going to use so that it's not the old school standard bluegrass, that it's much more focused on water conservation and just has a lot less needs. If we can We may also review whether or not artificial turf is a good option here. So all of those things we will determine through the budgetary process once we get into the construction documents. But I don't have an exact square footage or amount. Trent, could you send me a message if you have an approximation? I feel like we've looked this one up before. He's messaging now.
Okay.
Yeah, there is
I was just curious.
Yeah, there's a balance there between having, a nice flat playable surface for those soccer activities or drop in frisbee, those passive or more active uses on an irrigated turf. So you have to have at least a large enough area to make that activity work. But then it's been very intentional that that's the only place where there's irrigated turf. There's no irrigated turf for aesthetic reasons, around that are simply for aesthetic reasons. This is very intentionally for play.
Yeah, and Trent and I are messaging back and forth since his microphone is not cooperating. I think we've got approximately 50,000 square feet in there. So we do have some standards that's in our manual because we do want to make sure there's enough playable space. But that balance is tricky.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for the presentation. And keep up the good work. And you guys
All
need
right.
approval on this, correct?
Yeah, so there's one last slide in that presentation, I believe, that has the formal question.
Okay.
Trent, do you have that? Should be the very last slide. Okay, so does the policy committee wish to recommend approval of the Central Community Park Master Plan, sending the plan to City Council for consideration, recognizing the change in the timeline, and it will go back to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a public hearing?
Council members? Do y'all approve?
I
Yes,
approve.
I approve.
Okay, I approve as well. So there you go. Move it forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next one is a resolution to approve the Red-tailed Hawk Park Master Plan Amendment.
Trent Woolley will be presenting this as well, so I believe he's pulling up the presentation, and hopefully his mic is working if his headphones are not.
Looks like you're on mute, Trent. Screen, I can see it says mute.
Trent, are you able to turn your mic on?
Okay, Is that better? Does that work?
Yes, much.
Okay. Sorry about that. All right. So as we've already noted, our second project that we want to present today is the Red-tailed Hawk Master Plan Amendment. As most everyone knows, Red-tailed Hawk Park is an existing park, and we are wanting to update that master plan, and we'll get into a lot of the reasons why here in just a moment. Just to note, our design firm, these are the lead designers. It's a company called Mundus Bishop, and they are a great landscape architecture firm that we've been working with on this particular project. Slightly different, the amendment process. We have about five items that may come up that we look at to see if we need to make an amendment on this particular project. We have three of those highlighted that we basically are stating that these are reasons why we feel like we need to amend the Red-tailed Hawk Park Master Plan. The first one is there a significant change in the character of the park, which we believe there is. Also, a significant increase in the amount of hard surface or density of use. We believe that there's a little bit of both, mostly just density of use. And then the final one is it a significant change in the amount of traffic generated by the park use? And again, if you are familiar with Red-tailed Hawk Park, very well used currently, and we expect that to tick up some as well. So again, location, Southeast Aurora, just south of Talon's Reach, right along South Aurora Parkway. We always refer to the little entry road here on the north as it's called East Hinsdale's Way. So you can see the park here, and then we'll get into some of the details. Pay special attention to this blank area. Everything else is green. That's previously property that the city has owned in the past, and then we acquired some acreage here in the middle, and that was part of the genesis for this particular project. Again, a larger view, we have playgrounds, shelters, spray ground in this area. We have another small playground up here, open play field, and a lot of trails through the natural areas. So just to cover kind of existing right now, it's a 35-acre community park. We have open space. We have a small multi-purpose field here up at the north. We have a wetlands boardwalk, which you can faintly see through this wetland area here. We have a playground and shelter located up here. This is the original playground and shelter, and there's also a vault restroom up here. A couple of years ago, we built the accessible playground right here in this larger area. And again, we have a spray ground. We have shelters. We have some bocce courts here on the north and some horseshoe courts on the south. And then this dotted area here indicates a 9-acre parcel that we acquired from Cherry Creek School District. A long time ago, Cherry Creek owned this particular parcel, and they were going to put in I believe it was an elementary school. They chose not to do that. They had conversations with the city, and the city acquired this property, 9 acres from them. So again, looking at this 9 acres in the middle of this park, it made sense for us as a group to come back and take a look at this master plan. We have 2 large parking lots here, and then of course a lot of trails throughout the park. This is the current master plan as it sits. We have, again, this was all built out up here on the north, the wetlands with the boardwalk, the multi-purpose area, the playground and shelter. There's a small parking lot up here existing currently. And then we have this area here with bocce, horseshoe, spray grounds, a playground, which is the accessible playground area here. We have a volleyball court over here. Both parking lots have been built. The items that we've highlighted in red have not been built yet. So these courts or these fields here have not been built. This is a skate spot that was proposed that has not been built. And this is an additional playground that has not been built. So back in 2005, we had a master plan that was approved. We had some changes occur, so then it was updated in 2008. And this is that master plan from 2008. The first phase of construction was this northern section. So it came in with this little roadway here, and this was all built. Second phase was in 2010. And that's when this east area here was built. So it was the shelters, the spray ground, bocce, horseshoes, volleyball, this parking lot. And then the third phase in 2018 was the construction of the accessible playground. Fourth phase was this particular parking lot here, which is a mirror image of this one. And that was built in 2020. And then in around that same date, we acquired that 9 acres, which is approximately in this area here. Same process. Public outreach consisted of 3 public meetings. We also had an Engage Aurora page for Red Tail Talk Park. This particular, because of the size of the park, we went with a 2-mile radius, which gave us just over 13,500 addresses on our mailing list to reach out to folks to invite to meetings, along with 28 neighborhood groups and HOAs in the area. So public meeting number 1, again, we ran this particular meeting. We had 40, it was in December 6th, 2023. We had 40 people attend in person. And then we sent out the post-meeting survey and we received 222 responses. And at that particular point in time, folks were saying that their preferred amenities were trails, adventure play, shade shelters, and then some sort of pollinator plantings or gardens. Public meeting 2, again, we take that feedback from public meeting number 1. We incorporated it into some concepts. And this particular consultant group came up with 3 concepts. Excuse me. And they were presented on July 31st, 2024. We ran the post-meeting survey. We received 110 responses. And out of those 110 responses, 50 of those folks said, hey, we love concept number 2 the best. Concept number 1 received 33 responses, and then concept number 3 had 27. Some of the most preferred items that we presented that folks liked was pickleball courts, additional trails, and multi-purpose field. And then the least preferred amenities that we proposed was the skate spot and, of course, pickleball courts. And some folks didn't like some of the park layouts. Concept number 2, this was the most preferred. It talked about additional restroom, adding pickleball courts, basketball courts, and then least preferred, again, pickleball courts. They didn't really want to see a plaza overlook area and no basketball courts. And then concept number 3, the most preferred items were multi-purpose fields, soft surface trails, additional shade shelters, and then the least preferred was the skate spot, a pump track, and overall layout. And then our final public meeting was held on December 5th. We had 14 in-person attendees, and then we had 32 responses to the survey. 21 were online, 11 people were at the meeting. They filled out an in-person survey. The most preferred options were trails, pickleball courts, picnic shelters, a wetland expansion, and then some sort of butterfly or pollinator gardens. 19 of the 32 responses agreed that the proposed master plan amendment met or somewhat met their recreational needs. And then 20 respondents agreed that the proposed master plan amendment met or somewhat met the recreational needs of the neighborhood. And so this is the master plan amendment, and I'll just walk through some of the overall items here really quickly. Overall, it increases because of that 9-acre acquisition, it increases it from 35 to 44 acres. The centerpiece of this is a large multi-purpose synthetic turf field with some associated picnic shelters, a large group pavilion, and then a couple of smaller ones. An additional boardwalk area in this area. This is the existing, so we would expand the wetland and add an additional boardwalk for the wetlands. Adding 2 basketball courts, and then a plaza area. So the parking lot that was sitting up here has been shifted down to the south a little bit, more in line with kind of this entry here. And so this will be the same amount of parking that was located up here. It's just been pulled to the south some. We'll have an additional restroom. We're still evaluating just based on the budget and construction phasing. And then we are proposing a skate spot, which will be here nearby the existing volleyball court. We're proposing an additional or an expansion of the accessible, so an additional accessible play area just south of the spray ground. And then we're also proposing a bicycle pump track, and then 4 pickleball courts. And then we are proposing to remove 3 of the bocce ball courts and 3 of the horseshoe courts to develop some butterfly meadow gardens or pollinator gardens. So again, this is kind of that central area where most of the updates are going to occur. So a large multi-purpose field. This would be a sloped seating area. So the field down here is lower than the pavilion area, so you can stand up here and overlook this. Adding basketball courts. Again, this is this plaza area. As you park in this area, you come into the new updated plaza area. Additional pavilions, the skate spot, 4 pickleball courts, of course, the pump track, and the additional play area here. So some renderings our consultants came up with. We are basically looking from the west to the east to the southeast. This is the existing multi-purpose field that's on the north end. So the north is to the left here. And then here's that existing older playground here. So this would be all new multi-purpose synthetic field. You have this slope sitting area. There would be some boulders or some sort of seating, as well as you can sit on the sloped area, large group pavilion area, the new basketball courts. You can see the skate spot here, and then down in the far distance, you can see the pickleball courts. And then we'll get a little bit better view of the east side over here in just a moment. So yeah, this is looking back to the north. So you have your pickleball courts here in the foreground, the skate spot, the basketball, and then that's that large multi-purpose synthetic turf field. And the edge over here on the end, we have the bicycle pump track, and then the updated and additional accessible playground area, the butterfly areas that have been converted from the old bocce and horseshoe. And similar approval process, we've met with PRAB. They've approved it. We held a public hearing at that point with PRAB, and it was the amendment was approved by the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. And then on the 12th, we presented to Planning and Zoning Commission, and they were in favor of this as well. And then, of course, we're here today. We'll be asking a similar question as we did on Central. This one is on track currently right now to go to study session on April 7th, with hopefully a final approval from council on the 21st. So any questions or comments at this stage?
Thank you for the presentation. Councilmember Murillo, questions?
No questions, but I'm excited. I mean, this is a little far from where I'm at, but I want to go to this park.
All right, Councilmember Coombs.
No questions for me. Looks great.
Yeah, no, it all looks good as well. So I'm glad to see all kinds of good things happening there. So looks like a good spread. Thank you guys again. Appreciate it. And
Sorry, real quick.
Go ahead.
Sorry, if I wasn't explicit in the last presentation, my comments for the other master plan, I would also apply to this one as well. Just moving forward, yeah, great. Thank
All right. And does the committee wish to recommend approval of the Red-tailed Hawk Park Master Plan Amendment?
Yes.
Everybody in favor? Good?
Yes.
We're all good then? We'll move it forward, gentlemen and ladies. Thank you much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I have something that I guess is the time to bring it up. Have we had any more discussions, or are there no discussions around a Southeast sports park? Just curious.
The concept continues to be on our needs list, Councilmember Medina, but we currently are not having any active scoping conversations.
Okay. So if possible, could I meet with whoever started that or whatever to kind of brainstorm some things?
Absolutely. Yes, I will follow up with you following this meeting.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet.
Any other things? All right, then topics for next month's meeting.
Yes, Councilmember Medina, this is Brian Green.
Yes, sir.
We don't have a full slate yet, but we do know that we will be bringing another IGA for the school district on winter. What was the IGA? Remind me what the one we just looked at.
The Compass program itself is dissolved as it's how it used to be constituted, and we're moving forward with where we are now the full provider. The schools are just having full providers, and it's we're going to call it Youth Ventures.
It'll be just a kind of a renaming or a imagination of the way Compass worked in the schools. So that'll be IGA will be coming next month.
Very good. All right. Any other further questions, concerns, issues from anyone? Committee?
None from me.
All right. All right. Well, with that, thank you all, and we will adjourn the meeting.